My name is Ross Holtgren. I'm a financial planner and director of Chapman Welsh Financial Services. I've been involved in local sport for over 30 years, and we're passionate about providing insurance education for football clubs, netball clubs and their players. We heard about Luke's story earlier this year, and we felt motivated to provide an education service to local sporting clubs and their players if the unexpected did occur.
My story involves just another Saturday game. I was expecting to play a full game with mates, and unfortunately enough, 10 minutes later I got tackled, just your everyday tackle, nothing different, and all of a sudden my life had turned upside down that I had no idea what was to come. Once I was in hospital, they gave me enough drugs to knock me out for 10 minutes while they put the knee back in place. And then that's when the real problem started. My bottom of my leg started filling up with blood. They didn't realise that I'd actually severed an artery. So then after that scan, it was straight into emergency theatre, and because I'd taken so long to get to hospital, the blood flow and hadn't got to the certain muscle in my leg, and that muscle had started to decay and started to die. And so with the blood being pumped in but not the right way, it had started flowing around all the dead toxins from that muscle dying into my heart and my kidneys. And so then it wasn't until 4 days later, when I came out of ICU, I realised how bad it really was. I had no idea. I had tubes in my mouth and couldn't speak for a couple of days, and they'd got in contact with my dad to fly down just in case I needed a kidney. And that was when I really realised how bad it was. Once the hard part was done, well, half the hard part anyway, I got to keep my leg. They then told me that the nerve that ran down the side of my leg had been stretched so far it was unrepairable. And so for the next 4 weeks, every 2 hours they do an ice test where they get a block of ice and dab it all the way down to see what would feel, what would not feel. So then after 4 weeks of that happening, and once I got home, obviously had a few falls, but it's the same as trying to learn to walk again. And once I'd gotten over that hurdle, it was 2 months of intense rehab. So training in the morning, at night, hydro in the afternoon and midday, 7 days a week. Obviously without having any insurance, bills were starting to pile up, and as it happens, the world doesn't stop for you, it keeps going. So I had to get back to work as quick as I could, because I'd gone through all my long service, gone through all my sick leave, annual leave, and so I had friends and family put together a fundraiser just to get me through the next 2 months of rehab so I could go back to work. Once we raised about 26,000, so that was enough for me to pay my bills and keep going with the rehab, as the insurance with the league didn't cover a lot. It basically just covered the bare minimum. There's no income protection in it, there's no help with your physio, it's only minimal. So once that was realised, and how much I really relied on friends, that's when it sort of hit home that I really should have got insurance. 2 months after that, I had a staph infection from a knee reconstruction. So then spent the next 3 months on antibiotics. Once the antibiotics course had done its course, I've now gone back in for more checkups, and it turns out that the infection stretched the lateral ligament, and now I have to go back in for another 2 surgeries. The first stage is to have the ligament taken back out, the screws taken out, the holes filled back in, and then wait 6 months until it hardens, and then go back in for another reco where they'll do the lateral and put the ACL back in. So that's where we're at the moment. If I had had income protection, I reckon the burden on my family would have been much less. I wouldn't have had to rely on family and friends to chip in out of their own wallet. I'm just a general tradie, just a landscaper, and all I've known is hard work, so I'm always happy to help out a mate. That's no dramas. But to then turn around and ask them for money out of their pocket just so I can get by was a bit hard to do. You know, the insurance that the league gives you, it doesn't cover what is needed to repair an injury like this. So as a tradie, as a landscaper, it was always physical labour. You know, I relied on the skill that I'd learned over all the years, and to have an injury impact on that, you know, you have to then start thinking, well, where do I go if I injure myself badly enough? Do I look for a new career? And unfortunately that's what's happened to me. Landscaping was obviously very hard labour, so the only thing I knew was landscaping. I didn't know any other trades, so I just had to move and find another job. It's like I said earlier, the world keeps spinning. You know, people who have bosses, you know, they can't rely on you, then they're obviously going to let you go. They can't baby you through your injury. So with having insurance, with personal income protection insurance, you know, the burden of having a bad injury and having that insurance, you know, it gives you a breathing space. You know, you don't have to go back to work while you're partly injured. You know, you can get the full recovery that you need because that insurance is there to cover you, and that's what I really should have had. As advice, I would say to any footballer or netballer, if you love the game that much, then you really need to think about yourself. You need to go get that insurance. You need to think about what that game can do to you if you don't have that insurance. If you love the game that much, then go get insurance. I urge you to go get it. You'd be silly to play without it. Go get info. It doesn't cost you anything to go get information about insurance. I mean, they can work you up a really good deal. It doesn't even have to come out of your own pocket. It's key. Even if you're a young fella and you're starting out on your own and you're building a business, or you know, you're starting a family, or you've got yourself a brand new ute and you know you've just got repayments. If you insure your car, why wouldn't you insure yourself? I mean, it's the same as house insurance. I've got house insurance. If something happens to it, I know the insurance is going to cover it. Why wouldn't I get insurance for myself to know that if something happened for me, I can, you know, rebuild me? But not having that insurance is what has hurt me this year, and to not have that cover, it's really hurtful. You really need that cover.